Hey guys, Maven here. Now, from 2001 through 2005, I was a WWE wrestler, and although predetermined, there are pain and injuries I battle still to this day. So, when I was approached a few years back to join a lawsuit against the WWE for those injuries, I politely declined. You want to know why? Jump in, I'll tell you all about it. To set the tone, I have to start off with the year, and the year was 2016, and by this time I was entering a new phase of my life. Now, by that I mean my post-wrestling career, and I've talked all about and done a video about previous bitterness I had toward the business and just what it took to finally let those demons go. So during this time, I actually probably, as weird as this is to say, I had my first big boy adult job. I was working with Verizon and just doing basic corporate sales. But I received a letter at my house. I didn't pay it much mind. But then I started hearing rumblings, and some of the other boys started talking about, hey, did you get the letter? And I found out that what was taking place was a class action lawsuit, basically, from my understanding, for head trauma. The world was a totally different place back when I was in the ring, and yeah, I mean, we knew about concussions, but we considered it getting your bell rung, and we figured that if you couldn't finish the match that night, well, hell, you'll definitely be out there the next night. I don't think people fully grasped and understood exactly just how debilitating over time head trauma and CTE could be. So by 2016, people were looking to strike, and people were looking to place blame. In my opinion, the WWE was an easy target. Now, I think they are to blame for probably some mistreat of workers, putting guys out there when I mean, they definitely had no business. And I always thought if records come out and it proved they did know what the risks were, okay, then maybe they should be held liable. Once I received the letter, I didn't immediately disregard it, and I didn't immediately chuck it in the trash and say, nah, there's no way in hell. I put some thought into it. Now, at the time, I didn't have an attorney. I didn't have representation. So not having my own representation meant I was going to have to trust the firm that was bringing forth the suit. And I didn't. There was no reason I wouldn't have trusted them. But going forward, I would have definitely wanted to at least reach out and talk to an attorney and just make sure any decision was made in my best interest. So for about a good week, I actually did consider it. I did ponder it, and here's what I did know. And here are the pros and cons that I gathered myself. Okay, pros. Obviously, it could be a decent chunk of money, a decent payoff, and I could be standing up for the seriousness of head trauma. And I definitely do. I've mentioned it before, and I mean it. I'm very happy with the fact that wrestlers of this generation, they're just smarter. They don't take unnecessary chair shots, and they don't, if they do have issues with concussions, because accidents, they do happen, but then they didn't take the needed time off. The con, there were two. The first con was, well, when you join forces with a lawsuit, in my mind, that immediately, almost makes you the enemy. And I figured that if I did join, the WWE might view me as, almost like I'm stabbing them in the back. Another con would have been, definite time that I would have had to have put into it. Obviously, I would have had to have met with an attorney. I would have had to, might even be called to take a deposition. And the fact that I was, just getting my feet wet and trying to get into the business world, and I had put my wrestling career in the rear view mirror. I didn't think it the best use of my time to be telling my employer, well, I'm going to need X amount of days off. If I go to them and tell them, yeah, I need some time off, well, what do you need the time off for? Well, I'm suing a company I used to work for. I don't think the answer they're going to give me is go get them. I had things going in a positive, not negative direction for the first time in the better part of 4 years, and I didn't want to rock that boat. Now, had this lawsuit have come around 4 years earlier, had it have been placed in my lap 2-3 months after my arrest, and I've done a video on my arrest, and I've told everything that I lost. Had this lawsuit have been placed in my lap then, I'm not ashamed to admit I probably would have seen it in a completely different light. Another con that arose is one that I know you're not even thinking of, and that is the mental toll. The moment I would have signed my name onto the sheet and said, yes, I'm a part of this lawsuit, two things would have happened. One, I would have been worried about how the WWE then viewed me moving forward, and I would have constantly been checking the dirt sheets, or keeping my ear open, and yeah, man, did they say anything? Did they say anything? And two, I would have been waiting for a check that, I don't know, maybe was never coming. Let's say a settlement was reached. I don't know, would the check have been to my liking? Then they're at that point putting a number, a dollar figure number on my health. I didn't want to be waiting for money that I don't know if it would have ever shown up, and I definitely didn't want to say any injuries, any pain that I suffered in the ring are worth $50,000, $70,000, hell, $5,000. I don't know. I have no idea what the dollar figure would have been, but I personally didn't want to be waiting for fairy dust that I didn't know if it was going to drop in my lap or not. But ultimately, I didn't sign on to the class action lawsuit, and here's the reason why. And I'm not expecting anyone to understand or agree with my reasoning. That's why they're my reasons. I don't look down on anyone who signed on to the lawsuits, because I'm sitting in this seat. I'm not sitting in their seat. I don't know what their issues were. I don't know what they were going through with their lives. And I definitely don't know what pain they dealt with on a daily basis. More than likely, most of those guys that signed on had it way worse than I did. At the time, I would suffer from a few headaches, and occasionally my back would go out, and my neck was sore. There were guys that had it a lot worse than I did. I knew the career path I was choosing was one that was not only going to bring me pain and injury at the time, but pain and injury more than likely for a lifetime. Had I have taken a quick payoff, let's say they would have gave me $5,000. That $5,000 would have been long gone at this point. But I still would have had to have lived with knowing that A, I put a number on my health and well-being, and B, I didn't live up to the standard I set for myself years ago, which was just taking ownership for my own actions. 8 years later, I can tell you I'm happy with the decision I made. And I would almost be proven right, because the ultimate outcome of this lawsuit was it was eventually dismissed. And ultimately, I would find myself with another opportunity to go back to the WWE. To find out how that went, click the link on screen.